Hey everybody, welcome back to the Always Be Booked Cruising YouTube channel. I want to thank you for joining me today. What we're going to do is we're going to pit two cruise ships against each other. A battleship showdown between Norwegian Breakaway and Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. Recently, I had a rare opportunity where I got to sail on both of these ships within a day of each other. This gave me a real good opportunity to see which cruise ship, which overall experience outshine the other. We're going to get into that right now. Stick around.
Friends, don't forget to like and subscribe. Always be booked. Always.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As mentioned, we have a battleship showdown, a heavyweight bout between, well, let's call it a cruiserweight bout, right? Cruiserweight, get it? See what I did there? Anyway, between Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas and the Norwegian Breakaway. And we're going to start the tail of the tape. First and foremost, I'm going to invite you to subscribe to this channel. And if you don't mind, check out the Always Be Booked Cruise podcast. You can get that anywhere you like to listen to your favorite podcast. All right, tail of the tape, let's do it. Year built. Freedom of the Seas comes in at 2006. That's when she was launched. The Norwegian Breakaway launched in 2013. If we're talking about length, the Norwegian Breakaway is 1,068 feet long, and the Freedom of the Seas is 1,112 feet long. Gross tonnage, 146,000 for Norwegian Breakaway, and the Freedom is weighing in at 155,000 gross tons. For capacity, Breakaway holds 3,963 people to Freedom's 3,782 people. Now, the cost to build Freedom of the Seas, a whopping $800 million, and for Breakaway, $840 million. Now, the last refurb for Norwegian Breakaway was in 2018. For Freedom of the Seas, she was refurbished under the amplification program from Royal Caribbean in 2022 at a cost of $116 million. All right, here we go. Round one, we'll do first impressions, and we'll start with the Norwegian Breakaway. Ring the bell. Here we go. All right, so this ship is beautiful. It's big. It's very compartmentalized. No complaints whatsoever as far as walking on board the ship. You have the beautiful main atrium, and you have that secondary atrium where you could see Le Bistro and headliners. Beautiful ship all around. The problem is that the rooms weren't ready. It's 3:30 in the afternoon, and there's a bunch of people waiting in the elevator lobby because we don't even have access to our rooms yet. So that was a little bit of a turnoff. And then, of course, once they do open up, you are able to get settled in. And the one thing Norwegian is doing, they went back to the original muster drill format. So it took longer to get going. Not ideal. So I would say the Breakaway fell short a little bit from the standpoint of first impression. Now, conversely, going into Royal Caribbean, I drove from New Orleans to Miami. So I did have to rush there. So I didn't get a lot of sleep, but still going through the port of Miami, the terminal was beautiful. You board the ship, and there was something about seeing that Royal Promenade for the first time. I don't know if it was just a real contrast to the experience that I had previously, but I love that Royal Promenade. And the minute I got on that Royal Caribbean ship, everything was smooth. They don't do the muster drill anymore, so they do the e-muster, and we were doing our sail away, and you could see another Norwegian ship, and, you know, we saw all the people on the Norwegian ship lined up for that muster drill, and I have to say it was a little satisfying knowing that we were not subject to that same type of a scenario. I was just so happy to get back on a Royal Caribbean ship, and if we're talking about first impressions, round number one goes to Royal Caribbean. All right, so there you have it. Royal Caribbean up 1-0. Let's take it over to unique features. On the Norwegian Breakaway, Spice H2O is different. It's a nice feature that they have. It's on the back of the ship. I don't know why they put that screen all the way aft. To me, they should leave it in that portion of the ship so that there's an unobstructed view of the wake, of the sunrise, of the sea, all of that stuff. But it is nice back there. During the day, it's lounging. There is some drinking, that type of the videos going all day. But then at night, it comes alive. A lot of the late night parties go on back there. It becomes sort of a default nightclub for all of the outdoor parties. You'll have your glow party there, the 80s party, the one-hit wonder party, party, tons of stuff that go on back there. People really enjoy it. Between the DJ, the cruise director, they know how to light up the party, and that's a fun place to be. And that is something that is unique to Norwegian, the Breakaway and Breakaway Plus class ships. Also, you have the ice bar. Now, this one I don't necessarily understand as much. What do you guys think of the ice bar? You get to put on a jacket, go into a room that's 0 degrees, and have a cocktail. I don't know. I'm going on cruises to get away from that type of thing. What else can they do in there? Can you make a room next, and then we'll sit in there and, put on a jacket, and then we'll strap ourselves to the chair. You'll throw gale force winds at us, emulate a tornado or a hurricane. Is that a fun environment to have a drink in? I don't know. But some people seem to like it. It's been around for a while. They have a lot of land-based ice bars, so who am I to judge? It's not necessarily for me. We'll talk about the Manhattan room. The Manhattan room is really a main dining room, but on the Breakaway Plus class of ships and the Breakaway class of ships, they have 3 dining rooms, 2 regular main dining room standard ones, and then they'll have the Manhattan room, which is sort of like a ballroom. Same menu as the regular main dining rooms, but they'll also have a dance floor and an orchestra, a big band sometimes, where you can liven up the party a little bit in a main dining room experience. Not too many, if any, other cruise lines do that. All right, let's talk next about the waterfront. Now, a really cool thing on Deck 8 of these ships is that all of the main restaurants, the bars, they're all mostly across Deck 8, the whole length of the ship. And that's also where the promenade is, meaning you can go inside and outside, not fully around the ship, but pretty far along either side of the ship. Now, every venue, whether you're talking about Sid Norman's Poorhouse, whether you're talking about Moderna, Cagney's, all of the venues that are across the ship, they have an indoor and an outdoor component as well. So you might be enjoying yourself inside. You could pop right outside. Shakers also has it. Every venue has an inside and an outside. It's almost like a boardwalk waterfront feel, thus named aptly the waterfront. So that's unique to Norwegian Breakaway and Breakaway Plus class ships, so you got to give that nod to the waterfront as well. Also, there's a live music venue called Sid Norman's Poorhouse. Now, live music is not unique to this cruise ship, of course, but to have a venue like this, to have it's like a real live music joint that's built to entertain live music. It has speakers built into the walls. It has a real intimate feel where it feels very, very cozy, but at the same time, it's big enough to entertain a good amount of people. Sid Norman's Poorhouse, it has an inside and an outside bar as well, like I just mentioned, but it's a fun place to hang out. The bands are really good, and it seems like Norwegian has put a lot of focus on making sure some really good live rock and roll music comes out of Sid Norman's Poorhouse. They do it across most of their ships, and it's a really, really fun and unique place to enjoy a good drink and some live music. All right, let's talk about some unique features on Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. We will start with the Royal Promenade. This place is just like, it's polarizing because some people don't like it. Some people mention that it feels like an American shopping mall. But for me, it's just a very, very homey type of a place. Yes, I know it's big. I come from New York, so it's like I like to see the neighborhood. I like to see who's coming and going, do some people watching. It's a lot of fun. But, there's nothing more I like than to go to the gym, come down from the gym, hit the Promenade Cafe, maybe get some coffee, maybe get a little finger food like a bite of sandwich or something or some fruit, hang out, sit in a table and chairs right outside the cafe and just see the goings on of the day. They have the parades there. They have multiple parties there. They have the pub there. It's so functional and just a very, very nice, relaxing place to be. All right, you also have a venue called Studio B. Now, this is, in essence, an ice skating rink. You have open skating. You have ice shows by very, very talented performers. I mean, these shows, Royal Caribbean does kill it with those shows, whether you're talking about on Oasis-class ships, where you have the Aqua Theater, or you have the Studio B, which is, like I said, really, really talented. These people have to be at least former Olympian contenders if they're not actual medal winners. Very, very good shows. It's a little bit of a tighter version of an ice skating rink, so they have to be pretty talented and quick on their toes to be able to navigate that small of an ice skating rink. But it's absolutely beautiful, and the shows are awesome. They'll also do other things in that venue. They'll do silent discos. They'll do DJ and dancing. They'll do the Quest Live. Right after the Quest, a lot of times they'll open it up. They'll put the DJ up. They'll set up a bar down there. So it's a very, very versatile room. It's a couple of decks below the Royal Promenade, but I definitely suggest if you're on a Royal Caribbean ship, check out Studio B. Another component that's unique to Royal Caribbean ships, you do get access to the helipad. And if you do want, you can walk outside onto the promenade and follow the path forward, go up a couple of flights of stairs, and you have an unobstructed view of the sea. Now, this is like, be careful, it gets a little windy out there. You don't feel like you're supposed to be allowed there, but yet you are. Now, the last thing I want to talk about as far as unique features on a Royal Caribbean ship, or this particular ship, we're talking Freedom here, this Playmakers. Now, this was a difference maker. This was the biggest and most pleasant surprise I've enjoyed on this cruise ship. Just walking around the ship, getting to know the ship. I come out of the casino and it opens up into this beautiful Playmakers venue. I've been to Playmakers before on other Royal Caribbean ships, but this one I really liked. It had plenty of width. It was as wide as the ship was, as well as it had a VIP area. It had plenty of arcade games, TVs for days, a really, really good beer menu, and tons of food. Yes, it was an upcharge, but it really felt comfortable. I mean, just right up there with any land-based sports bar that you'd want to be at. The Playmakers was my favorite part of this ship. So as far as unique features overall, this was a very close battle between the two cruise ships, but I'm going to give the edge to Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas, but I'm going to say the overall difference maker was Playmakers for this. All right, so round 2 goes to Royal Caribbean. It's 2-0. Norwegian better get their act together. All right, Category 3, the all-important Category 3. We're talking food. Now, we're going to break this down. Each ship, we're going to go the good and the bad, and then we'll give you the overall answer. All right, we'll talk about the Breakaway first. Now, the good. All of it was pretty good. There was not a bad meal to be had on the Norwegian Breakaway. I got to say that. The best value, I would say, is a bonsai noodle bar. This was phenomenal. I mean, this was a complimentary venue, but you can go in there and get some really good noodles, some ramen, very, very delicious Asian cuisine out of the complimentary bonsai noodle bar. You can't ever go wrong with O'Sheehan's. Delicious burgers, delicious wings, open 24 hours for the most part. We had a couple of issues with that, but for the most part, it's supposed to be open full service, 24 hours, diner style, really good food. Rubens, everything you'd want in like late night pub food was full service in O'Sheehan's. Also, you have the Raw Bar, La Bistro, American Diner. I loved all of it. That's where I happen to eat on the cruise. I tried all of those venues. They were all delicious. Yes, they were for an upcharge, but again, couldn't complain about any of them from a quality or service standpoint. And then I'll have to also add that the buffet was good. The buffet had plenty of options and didn't really have to. Yeah, of course, you had a couple of misses. The pizza was bad, but for the most part, the buffet was good. All right, we'll talk about the misses. So no grab-and-go food. How are we a cruise line? How are we a cruise ship right now with Carnival killing it in like 7 different ways you can grab-and-go food, fast casual style? Norwegian doesn't have one, besides the buffet, obviously, but, you know, nothing in the way of, the 3 basics. Talking about a good, well-branded burger, a smash burger, Guy style, or Johnny Rocket style. There's no good pizza to speak of. Same thing with Mexican. You have, the Blue Iguana Cantina on Carnival, and you have El Loco Fresh, grab-and-go style, fast casual on the pool deck on Royal Caribbean ships. Norwegian just ignores the whole casual Mexican thing, which is absolutely huge. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. You would think that a cruise line with that many smart people working for it would do a little bit better in those 3 categories, but they are completely ignored. While I did say the specialty restaurants, all of them, whether we're talking about the Raw Bar, the American Diner, or La Bistro, they were all good, but they were expensive as heck. I mean, aren't you supposed to get a little bit of a break considering the fact that you paid full cruise fare? I understand these are upcharge restaurants, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're supposed to pay what you would pay on land. I ended up paying $90, tip included. You're not supposed to be paying $90 for an a la carte meal at any restaurant on a cruise ship. The American Diner was similar, by the way. $15 for sandwiches. While you go on Carnival, you pay for Emeralds, a well-renowned chef, $7 to $8 an item. And they're good quality items. You go on and you're trying to have a chicken sandwich on Norwegian, it's going to cost you $14 in the American Diner. I get it that you're charging us, but you're supposed to get a break. You're not supposed to pay land-based prices when you're paying upcharges on these restaurants. The O'Sheehan's closed at 3 a.m. on some nights. I was alluding to that before, but with no warning, they would just close O'Sheehan's. They bill it as 24 hours, and they would just close it and try to make it up with the fact that they would lay out a bunch of cookies and some cake. Do we all need to be eating that late? No. Is it an emergency? No. But if you say you're going to be open 24 hours, you should be open 24 hours. So that's the good and the bad when we're talking about the Norwegian Breakaway. All right, let's talk Freedom of the Seas. We'll go over the good first. Let's start with El Loco Fresh. What a beautiful, beautiful addition they made a couple of years ago when they started introducing El Loco Fresh. It's starting to phase out Sabor, as we know. But when you talk about, them kind of coming into the modern day cruiser where they want the grab and go food, they see the success. We know these cruise lines borrow from each other. There's no shame in that. When something's successful, you run with it. They see what Blue Iguana Cantina did with Carnival. It's nice. It's nice that they don't ignore the whole fast casual Mexican thing like Norwegian does. Sorrento's, like I said, we know it's not great pizza. They at least put some sort of an effort into the pizza. Again, unlike Norwegian, I think we know where we're going here with this round too. So the Promenade Cafe is good as well. That's free food. It's complimentary. This is not going to be a full meal for you, but it's surprisingly good. They have fresh refrigerated items that are airtight, that are underneath, that's stored in a way where it's still delicious. It still retains its freshness. It still retains its flavor. And the Promenade Cafe is absolutely good. You get your coffee there, everything, desserts as well. The MDR was fine. Nothing that would distinguish itself. I would say the MDR and the buffets were both a wash. And Playmakers, again, going back to Playmakers, when you're talking about food, they had really good wings. They had some really good nachos. Playmakers was good. The presentation was good. It was elevated bar food. So as far as the bad for Royal Caribbean, there wasn't much. Johnny Rockets is good. It never really blows you away, but it's good. It's decent. So I would have to say, if I got a nitpick, it's not the best burger and it's an upcharge. So that's what you would say about Johnny Rockets. And the other complaint I would have is that, again, we're going with the late night food. There's a theme here. I, usually go out, have a good time at the nightclubs and want to finish the night off with maybe a slice of pizza, sandwich. Sorrento's is supposed to be open till 3 a.m., but one night I went there at 2:20 and they were already wrapping up and packing up and saying, sorry, we're closed. So that's disappointing. Just cruise lines, cruise ships should keep the hours that they say they're going to keep the hours that you advertise. But that's the food. And I think by the description, we're already going to give it to Royal Caribbean, and that's 3. We have 3-0, 3 rounds to nothing. Royal Caribbean, are they running away with this thing? All right, so rounds 1 through 3 all went to Royal Caribbean. It looks like it's about to get out of control here, but what we're going to do is finish it off. Now, these next couple of categories, we're not going to have to spend as much time on as we do with something like food, but we'll get into show entertainment. When I say entertainment, I break it down into 2 different scenarios. We have live main show entertainment and then the roving entertainment, the entertainers that you'll see throughout the venues on the cruise ship. So main show entertainment, we have Norwegian, they crushed this. They had 6, they had Burn the Floor, they had some other shows. The entertainment in the main theater on Norwegian was second to none. It was really, really good. People were raving about it left and right. It was pretty much unanimous that both of those shows, Burn the Floor and 6, were really, really good. Also, Royal Caribbean, they really just brought the usual non-plot driven review stuff. Yes, it was good. You heard good music. There was good dancing. Everybody seemed very talented, but there was nothing really to it. It was, maybe it's because it's on one of their, you would call maybe older ships, but the entertainment in the main show lounge on Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas was nothing to write home about. So Norwegian's going to get this one. Main show entertainment goes to Norwegian. So what we got, that's round 4. We got 3-1. Can Norwegian crawl back into this thing? Let's move it on to roving entertainment. As far as Royal Caribbean goes, you have the piano bar at Schooners. You have the ice show, which is very, very nice. You have the pub, good guitar player in the pub and singer. The parade was cool. Everything was good on Royal Caribbean, but I would say that Norwegian edges them out a little bit because they have most of that stuff too. Not the ice show, but they have the piano bar. They have Howl at the Moon. So when they talk about a piano bar, they go to a different level. You have a dueling pianos type of scenario that's introducing some comedy into the mix. The comedy on board Norwegian was definitely better as well. You have to give it to the bands at Sid and Norman's, and overall, overall, the roving entertainment, I would also give the nod to Norwegian for, just because of the variety. On the Freedom of the Seas, they didn't really seem to put that much into the entertainment as well. We're moving on to nightlife. So, all right, so what do we got now? We got 3-2. 3 rounds for Royal Caribbean, 2 rounds for Norwegian. It's getting a little tighter. Let's see where it goes from here. Nightlife. Let's talk about the Breakaway. Spice H2O is as good a nightlife venue as there is at sea, in my opinion. When you're outside, under the stars, listening to DJ music with the laser light show, that big screen, the energetic cruise director or whoever's got the microphone, the drinks are flowing, that is an elevated nightlife experience as far as I'm concerned. Something that Royal Caribbean misses when it comes to doing anything outside after 6 p.m., Royal Caribbean drops the ball, in my opinion. They also have, the Bliss. The Bliss Lounge is a great time. It's a great nightclub, good DJ music. They know what they're doing. Same thing with Sid Norman's. That's a little bit more of a pregame, kind of closes at a decent hour. You have some good whiskey bars, good martini bars. That's Norwegian Breakaway. Royal's good too. They're a little bit thinner though. I would say the nightclub holds its own. I thought they were going to do that with the Lime and Coconut Bar that's on the Lido deck. They built that as an outdoor area that was going to stay open a little bit later, but they don't seem to be delivering on that. They're not promoting any events out there. They're not doing anything fun to drive people towards Lime and Coconut after the sun goes down or after dinner. And then, you have the pub. The pub is nice. And I would say it's fairly close, but I got to give the nod to Norwegian on this as well. So we have a dead heat. We're 6 rounds in. We have 3 rounds to Royal Caribbean and 3 rounds to Norwegian. We have 2 left to go. Let's see where it goes. All right, one of the other main components to any cruise ship is what we would call, I'll categorize it as fun in the sun. Let's call it the pool deck. Anything that you're talking about, people like to be in the sun. People like to be by the sea. During the daytime, the flow of the pool deck, the Lido deck, whatever you want to call it, is a big thing on cruise ships. So let's talk about that. Royal Caribbean's pool deck absolutely blows away Norwegian Breakaways. Now we're talking about specific ships here. Okay, when you're talking about a ship like the Breakaway, it's a serious problem. There's obstructions around every corner. There's buildings in the way. You have basically room for 1 or 2 loungers deep or across on the deck as a whole. You run into these weird white buildings if you're on the sun deck. From a visual standpoint, from a walking around standpoint, from any standpoint whatsoever, Norwegian Breakaway pool deck can only be described as cluttered and tight, and it's a clear miss. You know what I mean? Royal Caribbean, very, very spacious. First of all, the pool deck itself, multiple pools. They have the Lime and Coconut Bar, which is an actual cool thing. Again, we just talked about how they don't do anything with it at night, but during the day it does come alive. They have the bandstand, the solarium. You have tons of stuff, tons of room. You have the cantilevered hot tubs. Plenty of stuff to do and plenty of places to lounge, sit, swim, enjoy yourself. It's not even close. Norwegian does have maybe a couple of better rope slides and rope course features, and they do have the aft section of the ship, which is Spice 2.0. But I got to tell you, it doesn't really work during the day as much. People are back there, people who want to get away from the kids. It's almost like a little bit of a poor man's Serenity back there, but it doesn't have a pool, doesn't have a lot of the features or the energy back there. So for me, it's not even close. Freedom of the Seas crushes the Breakaway when it comes to fun in the sun. So we're going to give that one to Royal. I think our score now is 4 rounds to 3. Let's move it on. We'll talk about crew and service. I'll give this a wash just because of the fact that both crews were very nice. They're both dealing with a difficult situation. They're understaffed. They're probably underpaid. And I got to say, listen, I call it like it is. I've been on cruises where the staff has not been up to par, where the staff was a little bit apathetic. You could tell both of these cruise experiences on Norwegian Breakaway and Freedom of the Seas, the staff went out of their way, and I had nothing but good experiences with the staff on both of these cruise ships. So we got to draw. The final category is going to be value. How much of a value, one versus the other, who won in this category, where do I feel my money was more well spent, more appreciated, and there was more of an overall value for. Now, Norwegian, will start with them because they're just complicated. When it comes to booking a Norwegian cruise, you can't deny the fact that you don't have any idea where you're going to end up. You know, they have the free at sea, and on paper, the free at sea is a very, very nice deal. But that is a vehicle by which they're allowed to charge a little bit more on the cruise. And that's understandable because they said you're going to get free drinks, you're going to get some free specialty dining, and you're going to get complimentary internet. And shore excursions, $50 towards each one, I believe, at each port. But the problem is that you don't really know how to measure that. The internet, if you're trying to do things like I do on board, if you want to stream, if you want to vlog, if you want to do anything that's going to require you're going to have to upgrade your internet package. $300, around $300 you have to spend on internet, even though you paid an elevated cost for free at sea. The drink package is good, but there's restrictions, kind of annoying restrictions when it comes to that stuff too. You know, there's no champagne. You have to get, fountain soda. There's some brands of liquor that are premium that you don't have access to. Most annoyingly is the water situation. Most cruise lines, get a 16-ounce bottle of water. Allow that to come with the price of the drink package on the free at sea. They don't let you get any bottled water, any water they don't even do bottled water. They do carton water. But you have to pay basically $5 plus tip, so it ends up being about $6 anytime you want a water, unless you upgrade from that package, which is going to be another $100 and something depending upon how many nights your sailing is. So I think they just sneak up on you with a lot of costs. It's just not good. Royal Caribbean, when you get on a Royal Caribbean ship, the sticker price of the cruise might be a little bit more. And yes, Royal Caribbean's drink packages have gone a little bit out of control, but there's no restrictions on them. So for the standpoint of transparency, I'm giving this to Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean, at least, you don't feel like somebody's in your pocket every step you take on a Royal Caribbean ship. Also, you get on Royal Caribbean, you go to the specialty restaurants. Yes, they are discounted appropriately. Even when you have to pay the upcharge, they're discounted appropriately based on the fact that you're on a cruise. This is not a land-based price system that they're setting up for you like Norwegian does. So across the board, for value, for the product, for consistency, I'm giving the value segment round 9 to Royal Caribbean. So both cruise ships in the center of the ring, the winner and still cruiserweight champion in Battleship is the Royal Caribbean Freedom of the Seas. Listen, you got nothing to be embarrassed about, Norwegian Breakaway. You put up a good fight. You ran into an all-time great cruise ship. It's a beautiful, beautiful cruise ship. It's a consistent, easy to navigate, fun cruise ship. I was so happy to be on Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. I enjoyed the cruise on Breakaway, but there can only be one winner, and I want to congratulate Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. I want to thank you guys for watching. Once again, my name is Tommy Casabona. If you don't mind, subscribe to the channel. You'll get plenty more content like this. We're going to ramp up the content here on the Always Be Booked YouTube channel. And if you get a chance and you want to check out a good podcast, well, it's a little egotistical for me to say it's a good podcast. I think it's pretty good. Check out the Always Be Booked Cruise podcast anywhere you like to listen to your favorite podcast. You guys are the best. Boat drinks.